you've worked at cutting edge companies, Meta, Amazon, Tencent. Have you seen people using AI enough in their work?
No, not
Data
enough.
scientists.
Not enough.
So even in the most cutting edge of companies in Silicon Valley, you still haven't seen it.
No, not
popular.
enough. The reason is people are too busy at their work, and there is just not enough motivation to learn the new thing and test the new thing. Yeah, like it's not that people are not smart. A lot of people smarter than us, or more diligent, or more curious than us.
Absolutely.
But they are too busy with their daily work. But I think in 10 months, most people will, because early adopters, and then there is the mass adoption. So it's a matter of time, because it is definitely better.
Your prediction is in 10 months, things will change. I think one complementary takeaway is that from now till then, it's an arbitrage period. Like before everybody gets to mass adoption, you're going to set yourself up for such great force multiplier if you are actually in it to use it.
Yes, it's a totally arbitrage opportunity from here to, mass adoption.
So for the current data scientist to be effective in the GenAI world, what sort of tools, techniques, or AI processes they can integrate in their workflow?
Today's date is January 31, right, 31st. And my answer is, let me give the audience some tips on the specifics of how to get this opportunity. Imagine if before GenAI, you want to get a machine learning job. If you don't have 10 years of experience, you can't get that job because it's highly competitive. Now, if you want to get, for example, AI something job, probably takes 2 months to prepare. How do you prepare?
You just heard some bold statements. AI is creating a massive career arbitrage moment. But what does that really mean? And how can you use this moment to become your superhuman self? Our guest today, Yuzheng, has worked at some of the biggest tech companies across Silicon Valley. Tencent, Meta, Amazon, StatsEgg, and is now a top AI course instructor on Maven. He's been deep into generative AI long before most people even noticed it. And this episode, he's breaking down the next 10 to 18 months, the window where those who adapt will skyrocket their career. We'll talk about why AI isn't just automating work, it's amplifying your potential. We'll show how people with no AI background are already using it to double, triple, or even 10x their outputs. And most importantly, we'll give you a roadmap to stay ahead before this window closes. So stick around, you don't want to miss this one.
Hey everybody, welcome to another episode of the Data Neighbor podcast with Shravya, Hai, and Sean. Today we have Yuzheng Sun here to talk a lot about AI and data science. Welcome to the show, Yuzheng.
Thank you.
Well, welcome to the show, Yuzheng.
Thank you.
So cool to have you here. So Yuzheng, you are currently working at StatsEgg as a staff data scientist. You were previously at Tencent, Meta, and Amazon. You're a prolific writer on LinkedIn, and you're also a AI course top instructor on Maven. So that's a lot of stuff.
No, he's
that you're
also a YouTube influencer. You forgot that part.
Oh yeah, YouTube
Hi,
influencer.
that's a big one.
YouTube influencers as well. That's a lot of stuff that you're doing right now, for sure. So in this episode, we're going to focus a lot on the AI aspects of data science and what data scientists should know in the world of GenAI, how they should kind of keep up with the pace on that front. So before we get in, Yuzheng, if you were to summarize your data science journey, professional journey thus far in a couple sentences, how would you describe your career?
That's hard, couple sentences, but I want to summarize relevant to AI so the audience knows my background and how to kind of interpret my perspective. So I graduated as an econ PhD, then joined Amazon as an economist. There, I was doing machine learning and causal inference models. I took most courses from Amazon machine learning universities. That's how I first learned kind of machine learning and AI. But when I joined Facebook, after 2 years, I joined Facebook as a product analytics data scientist. I didn't use AI. I didn't use machine learning. I was mostly doing analysis and try to drive impact. I went back to Tencent. I was managing data scientists, analytics engineers, and a machine learning team. There, because of my YouTube, I talk with industry thought leaders. I got introduced to GenAI, and I started to learn generative AI before the launch of ChatGPT. So after the launch of ChatGPT, I was responsible for educating others what generative AI was internally. And then I published articles online and got invited to, like, for example, national TV in China to talk about why this is important, or what is different from traditional machine learning. So that is kind of my journey into AI. Now it's static. We're doing A/B testing mostly, but I teach the course.
Got it. That's pretty cool. I mean, you were at the forefront before all the consumers got a peek of it.
So I think in Silicon Valley, after the launch of GPT-3, there are definitely the group of people who noticed and paid attention. But yes, the general market, I think, only start to pay attention after ChatGPT. And I feel like the adoption is still like, everybody working tech paid attention, noticed ChatGPT, but it took a long time for other people to notice even.
So true. Yeah.
But yeah, like I remember my Maven course, the first cohort, which was May last year, almost seems like a decade ago. I still need to talk about why you should learn generative AI. That was still a debate because a lot of machine learning scientists from before thought generative AI is nothing different. Was the when people were thinking about that, but now I don't have to do that part.
And you're talking about machine learning scientists, right? I generally converse with friends who are non-tech and people from Asia, people from India, and they're like, "Oh, AI is just going to be a boom. It's going to go away," sort of a thing, because they don't know what we are dealing with on a daily basis, being in tech and big tech, and especially us being close to Silicon Valley and in Silicon Valley, right? So like you said, I think now you don't have to talk to machine learning scientists about why generative AI is important, but I think most of the non-tech world, for them still, AI changing things is still probably too scary to think, or probably too much of a difference from the world that they know to where they see the world. Everyone tells the world will go towards, and they don't want to, it does not make sense. So probably this might not be true.
Yeah, I think people don't think generative AI is the big thing for different reasons. Like machine learning scientists, they were burned by the different hypes, right? Like every 2 years, someone will say AI is going to be the future, AlphaGo, AI is going to replace human. So they were naturally skeptical of people making some concept a big deal, but then there's a risk of not understanding it, dismissing it too quickly. But for the general public, I actually share this. I think the sentiment is quite natural in any paradigm shift. Like for example, iPhone, right? iPhone clearly is a paradigm shift, but back then we saw consumer electronic articles comparing iPhone to Nokia, and it says Nokia is still a better phone. Even engine, when you invent the first car, it took 70 years, seven decades for a car to be have mass adoption, because you have to invent the factory to build cars. You have to build other infrastructures. You have to have people who know how to drive, and there are use cases. So the ecosystem development is going to take a long time. So people always overhype in the short term, but underestimate in the long run.
Yeah, I absolutely, totally agree about the overhyping short term and underestimate long term. Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so this is definitely real. And we've talked to quite a few folks on this podcast as well on GenAI and kind of hey, how do you become one? And it's certainly not a fad. Hey, Yuzheng, you wrote a post on LinkedIn that with the advent of GenAI, data scientist, data analyst, economist, and roles with titles like that are becoming less relevant.
Yeah.
Can you explain what you mean there?
I'm sure you ran the data podcast, right? How many people ask you, what is a data scientist? Like over your career, right? It must be hundreds of people. And actually at different companies, they take very different meanings. Like at Amazon, it means a master's student who don't have a PhD. Because if you are a PhD, you are a research scientist who can run models. And at Facebook, it is analytics. I don't my first job at Facebook, I tried to use Python, and that was too slow and too kind of complicated for people to understand, and just not useful. Most of my job at Facebook was bar charts, but my title is still data scientist. So yeah, there are two things. One is data scientist. I call that a Venn title because it was invented according to Chima. Chima. He invented this title to attract talent from Google because those people are highly talented, highly paid. They don't want to be called analytics. They want to be called scientists. So he invented the title. And then a lot of people have this distinction of if you do SQL, you are analytics. If you do Python or do some machine learning model, you are scientist, which is the wrong way of defining anything. You shouldn't be defined by the tools you use. You should be defined by your outcome. But anyway, that used to be a controversial thing, a confusing thing, but it didn't matter that much because it's still, data scientists get paid more. I want to get into data scientist. In the era of AI, I think it becomes even more vain and even less relevant just because like today you can ask Cursor or ChatGPT or any advanced models to write any model. We have a student from the course who is a developer but never used machine learning, and he had a problem. Whenever he thinks hard, he pulls his hair. So he wants to develop a model to detect this motion and send him a notification that says stop pulling your hair.
That's interesting.
Using Cursor, he developed the full end-to-end within 2 hours. So he codes the training and the detection, the image detection, and I can show you.
During his webcam, he uses his webcam data or something that looks at him?
I think, yes. Yeah, the webcam.
Webcam, because I'm obviously sitting in front of your computer and there's webcam that's already always on, probably.
Yeah.
That's such a cool use case. Oh my God, this is amazing.
That's a cool use case, but the profound thing is, like, it will take a very seasoned machine learning scientist maybe a couple of days, right, to do this. Because it's not only like a model is training the model, it's also the deployment and sending the notification. But he can do that in 2 hours with no background. So yeah, like I think the skill is quickly depreciating. So if you still fixate your value on a skill, it just doesn't mean anything. Yeah, I can do it much faster, much better.
So in that world, then what is valuable?
I want to ask you, in the old world, without AI, what was valuable for a data scientist? Is the value of data scientists that I can do certain models that other people cannot?
Shavi, you want to take a crack at it?
Yeah. See, there are 2 parts of solving a problem, right? In fact, 3 parts. It depends on how senior you are in professions. First, identifying the problem itself, because you just see a really big ecosystem that probably revenue is going down, or you want to do something cutting edge to make sure that you have a better product. That's the goal. We only have goals if you look at the company. Now we need to identify what are the problems that you can solve to reach towards that. So that is a big, I would say, skill set to identify a problem that would have a meaningful impact. After you identify the problem, understanding the second step to me is going ahead and coming up with questions on how do you think this problem could be solved by? I should probably look into this. I should probably look into this, and then probably look into this. Some of them could be sequential. Some of them could be done at the same time. And third step to me is executing on the questions. That some of them could literally be getting the data and just looking at them in a Google Sheet or an Excel. And some of them could be segmenting, coming up with slightly complicated customer segments. And some of them could mean you predicting something. So from my understanding, what was the most important skill was the first 2 skill sets, which is identifying a problem. The second one is going after how do you want to solve this problem? What's your methodology? Like what your gut sense combined with domain knowledge, combined with curiosity, combined with simple analytical thinking. And the third one is execution. From what I'm hearing, it's the third one that's going to get replaced with AI. So yeah, I probably answered more than the question, but yeah, that's what I think.
I completely agree. Hi, do you want to try to give your answer?
Yeah, I mean, it makes a whole lot of sense. I think my simplest form of any profession, not just data scientist, by the way, is think about what you're hired to do, why you're hired. You're hired because you can provide outcome for the company such that they can grow either in revenue or other business outcomes. That's why you're there. You're not there because, hey, data is cool, you should come in and play with it. You're hired to deliver outcome. And how do you do that? Well, it doesn't really matter. Like, if as long as you figure it out, you just happen to work with data. And so in the data domain, what can you do to achieve that goal? So people who keep that big picture in mind then start to understand, hey, I need to problem solve. Like Shavia said, I need to identify what the domain use cases are. I need to understand deeply about the business. And then the tool sets doesn't really matter. It's, in the old world, it's, hey, we need to run reports. We need to run analysis. In the new world, maybe those are taken away. And that's fine because it's the initial thinking and the eye for the goal that matters.
Nice. I agree with both of you. And I want to share a slide I did. I give this career talk to some companies, like for example, Pinterest. So
Nice.
exactly what you said. What does your company want?
For the audience on Spotify or Apple, head over to YouTube. You're gonna see the slides.
We can drop the link as well. I can share the link to the audience.
This is awesome.
Yeah, this is like slide number 13. What does our company want, right? Your company wants growth, profit, and basically retention, DA, or revenue cost. And but we know this. I think everyone know we are hired to help the company, but we kind of fixate. A lot of us fixate on the solution. Like we can do a more advanced solution because of this. So this is actually drawing the inspiration from Mike Devlin, who was the head of analytics at Instagram and Shopify. So I asked for his permission to share this slide. Because we were trained in school, especially the number 4, harder things are more valuable, right? In exams, right? Yep. You solve the hard problem and you get more score. You are better than your classmates. But that's not true in reality. Reality is valuable things are more valuable. And I had another kind of linking post to say, the difficulty of problem is orthogonal to value, or sometimes maybe negatively correlated because easier, simpler solutions, more scalable, quicker, more robust, and easier to communicate. We have this kind of school or exam mentality, and we go into the work and we forgot where value is. So I don't think the value of data scientists will be replaced by AI. But if you think your value as a data scientist, if you misunderstood the value, if you don't think your value is identifying the problem and scoping the solution, then the least important part is execution is important, but knowing how to do 10 different models to solve the problem is not relevant. So if you have the correct understanding, I don't think AI will replace you. But if you just focus on your technical expertise or technical training or just your skills, AI can quickly replace those. Even communication. So a quick anecdote. Yesterday, I was talking with someone who just joined our company from Meta. And she was like, she thought her quote, her understanding that most human part or the people part of her job was sizing the goal of a team, right? At the beginning of each quarter or half for Meta, you need to size the goal, which is a very complex thing because you need to, balance the negotiation and influence a lot of stakeholders. But then she asked ChatGPT for advice, and ChatGPT gave better answers in her opinion. And then she was like, okay, this is the most people skill, and ChatGPT can do it better. Plus, if a PM asks ChatGPT, the PM understands ChatGPT is objective versus asking a person, there is some biases baked in. Yeah.
So when you mean communication, I want to dive deep into this. So did you mean that communication, you don't have to work on communication as much as you have to before the world of ChatGPT? Now it gets easier because you could talk with ChatGPT and it's going to help you bridge the gaps. or on what you couldn't have done yourself personally talking to people? Is that what you mean?
Great question. And I picked up this book. I was reading this book to my son.
Oh,
Nice.
love
Yesterday.
that book.
Wait 1 minute. Guys, his son is newborn. And why are you reading that book to your newborn?
I was reading the book and I just happened to, I mean, it doesn't matter to him. He's too young. So it
That's
doesn't
so
matter.
cute though.
Yeah, what kind of book. He is just playing with his toys. This is, I think is designated. I'm reading this. Yeah. So I'm going to quote this for the audience. The 7 Habits of Highly Effective People. Very, very misunderstood book. If you just probably listen to the summary doesn't do justification of the book. But the one of this is he talk about. I'm not suggesting element of personal ethic or personality growth, communication skill training, and education in the field of influence strategies and positive thinking are not beneficial. They are important. But his opinion is, I believe they are secondary traits. So going back to higher, right? Like results, outcome is what matters. Like whether you achieve that by having amazing communication skills or just because you look cute. I always, the reason is like my son, I feel he is the cutest being on earth. And I realize, okay, if he can just be cute for the rest of his life, he will do okay. He doesn't need communication skills or being smart. He can just be cute and do okay. Yeah.
This
Sorry.
is going to spur up on so many conversations on the controversies on this. But I definitely agree. I love this focus on value building, right? You know, whatever is the mechanism you use for value building, that's what's important. That's what's key. One thing, though, that I want to make sure that people also understand is not just short-term value, but long-term, right?
Oh.
So that's going to be key. So the reason why I think what you innately have that you don't actually work hard towards or don't cuteness versus you actually working towards something or you consciously work harder to get somewhere is going to stay with you longer, and it's going to make sure that it's a long-term value building. Like even communication, right? The aspects of how you built value is something that you can reiterate again and again. That's going to be a long-term value building, and you can continue doing it rather than, let's say you get support for something on some time and you don't see that support for like another day in like few years from now, then probably that's not going to help you.
Yeah. I realize how I could be interpreted the other way. So I want to,
Yes.
I'll clarify as well. I'm not saying communication is not important. I think communication is one of the most important skills to acquire. And you can certainly learn how to do that well. Yeah, effective communication is probably one of the most important thing in your work environment. But what I was saying is, and also like to our point, the long-term value versus short-term value, you want to deliver for the company, but you also want to grow yourself. So there is a learn and output cycle. You cannot just be learning all the time, but if you just repeating what you learned, but you are not learning new things, that's also a problem. So treat any projects as, I'm doing something for the company, but I hope I learn something in the end, whether it's a new method, a new way of using AI, or communication, or stepping out of your comfort zone and presentation. Like those are other things you need to learn. So yes, focus on the long-term value. But what I'm saying is, don't treat, I want to improve my communication skills as the holy grail of personal growth. The personal growth is, I understand, I have a better mental model of my business, of the business I'm working on. I have a better mental model of how the world works. I know how to deliver results, whether through communication. Treat communication as a tool, but not the destination. That's what I'm saying.
Got it.
Absolutely.
Hey, I want to run this point by you, Yuzheng, and see if you agree. I think in any sort of skill sets, right, like the easiest one to measure is technical. Like you need certain baseline level of competency. If you understand, let's say, like the foundations of probability or statistics, you understand pretty much the iterations after that. So like the machine learning, you understand your linear regression, you're probably good enough. You don't need to know the latest and greatest in terms of just your pattern matching recognition ability. Same thing with any soft skills, right? Like communication. You probably need to know how to write well, how to speak well in a coherent way, kind of like some level of foundation before and then you can kind of, hey, ChatGPT, come help me out, or else you're always going to be hampered in real life scenario where it's like high stakes, even if you've made it there, but you can't function well in that setting. Do you agree with that?
Oh, certainly, yes. But I think your question is actually loaded with, okay, so there is another slide I want to show, kind of related to Stravia's earlier asking the question, the importance of asking the right question. I have another mental model that it's very complex and multidimensional. Why
We
is
should just
asking...
sorry to digress, but we should have a podcast just on this PPT. It
Yeah.
looks amazing. Sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, thank you for the yeah. Like there are two things why it's complex. Like things are multidimensional, right? And there are a lot of noise. So for example, when you say communication, most people cannot see the higher dimensions. They see, oh, this person is very good with the accent, but they cannot notice how they listen to the other party and how they, how they express their intentions, for example. So the more you know, the more you can notice. But if you don't see the dimensions, even ChatGPT gives you the right answer. You don't know. You don't have the judgment of is this a better answer? So the multidimension is one thing. And the second is the treasure is in the unknown territories, because the known territories, we already dig out all the treasures. So, that's not how people think. People optimize on what they know already, but they don't do enough discovery of new things. So why it matters to what you are saying, like we just know too little. So knowing this much, knowing other dimensions, using AI is not going to help us because we don't even know how to ask the right questions. So yes, when you get to a certain level, when you see enough, when you have the curiosity mind, when you notice, okay, when you have this kind of two mentality, right? I need to pay attention to more dimensions. I need to pay attention to more unknowns. And then you kind of have a path to learn more.
That's cool. I think that's probably one of the clearest crystallizations of something that's really hard to put together in the framework of some sort, like the multidimensionality of that. So I
have
love
one
that.
more that you probably would like. So the one more is data science or any work, even engineering, is a craft. So we have science, we have art, but people don't pay enough attention to craft. Then what is a craft? Craft is something you have to learn by doing it, right? You can learn the tips from the masters as apprentice, and those are very valuable. Like following the right mentor can take you a long way, but you cannot learn how to golf by watching the video. You have to learn it by actually playing the golf, and you internalize everything. So data science or marketing or anything is a craft. And it's different from science because science is falsifiable, right? You can do experiment to say, this is why A is better than B. Craft, you cannot prove that. You can only, based on my experience, A is better than B. Probably cannot explain to you why, but trust me or not, or do it by yourself. And it's different from ours because ours is about expression. But craft, there is an objective kind of quantifiable benchmark for the outcome. So like knowing what you learn is a craft can also help you learn that.
Cool. And so for the current data scientist to be effective in the GenAI world, what sort of tools, techniques, or like AI processes they can integrate in their workflow? And I have a follow-up question after that.
Today's date is January 31, right? 31st. And my answer is Cursor. It can probably change next month, but current answer is Cursor, especially the agent mode. Cursor, if you go to Cursor, there is a composer. So like there's three ways of using Cursor. The first is just comment and tap, complete the code. And the second is chat. There's a chat window. And you just tell Cursor what I want. That's kind of, I call it prompt-oriented programming. A third one is delivery-oriented or objective-oriented programming. So just tell the Cursor composer agent mode what you want, and Cursor will do other things for you. And there are certain ways to improve this. Like, for example, you can enable the YOLO mode. you can write your own cursor rule. So cursor knows to search the web when answering a question, or like iterate and just do better the next time. So there are a few tricks to make it better, but that is the top choice.
So for the question, Yuzheng, data scientists today, if they have to embrace GenAI, the first tool that you can think of is Cursor. And it is from the perspective of coding, is what I'm assuming, right? Or do you think it could be helpful from, analytical thinking, give it a problem? Like, I've done that with ChatGPT. I've done with like Gemini and also Claude and stuff. So there are different workflows in data science. Probably we should talk about that. So different workflows of data science, like I originally talked about problem space, understanding. So there's identifying a problem. The higher you are as a data scientist, the more you probably get to the ecosystem level, right? You have a holistic way of looking at it. So identifying the problem, understanding the problem, coming up with like brainstorming with the problem. If you didn't have ChatGPT, you would do that yourself. But now that you have AI tools, not just ChatGPT, can you think of any tools how you could use tools to brainstorm and come up with like an analysis plan of what should you be going after? And the execution part, what I've heard from you, Cursor could be a great tool. Or do you think it could also help you in the initial stages as well?
It can also help you in the initial stages. Cursor is an interface. So in my course, I teach about this. There are three kind of key components to agentic AI system. The first is large language models, kind of as a thinking function. And the second is protocol to call different tools. And third one is called orchestrator. So Cursor is the orchestrator. Like long chain is another, long graph is another orchestrator. Orchestrator, people make a big deal out of it. I don't think it's that important. But the thing is, you can use Cursor to use different models for different tasks. For example, you can use the O1 Pro API, which is the most advanced model we have. Maybe today, I heard today OpenAI is going to make O3 available, but you can use that in Cursor as well. You can just call the API, give that a task. And why I recommend Cursor instead of just going to ChatGPT to use O1 Pro? Because in Cursor, O1 Pro can interact with other large language models and other agents. So for example, I use O1 Pro to plan the task. And we also have an open source package to kind of give you multi-agent framework. So we use O1 Pro as a planner and use Cloud Solid as an executor. Many people have different frameworks, but we think planner versus executor makes sense. So yeah, if you are in O1 Pro, you can ask O1 Pro a question and you can improve your prompts. That's the better way of using. O1 Pro, depending on your prompt, can give you the quality of the answers night and day. Going back to, asking the right question is important.
Yes.
But in Cursor, we are lazy, right? We don't want to sit in front of a camera and talk to ChatGPT for 10 hours. That's not what we want to do. But in Cursor, we can kind of design I don't want to call it workflow. I don't like the word workflow, but we can design the interaction so that ChatGPT, O1 Pro can ask Cloud, analyze this data, give me some preliminary results, and just search the web and find competitor information. Synthesize the data, write some bullet point for me, and then think on the answer and do iterations. And the whole flow is available to you. For individuals, I give different recommendations because if they never use ChatGPT, I said, go use ChatGPT, right? And these are 10 ways to try out ChatGPT. But I guess the audience for this podcast, most of them have used ChatGPT. And if I want to give one recommendation, I recommend Cursor because that opens up a whole new world, which is very different from ChatGPT or Anthropic.
I should start using it. I just been doing the GPTs and the Claudes and stuff. I should probably get into the Cursor. It'll maybe also help me get into the build mode.
Yeah, the
right?
chat. So I sent you the recording in chat. And that recording is our demo of doing automatic weekly business review 5 different ways, starting from the traditional way and then chat. I think I forgot the third one, but the first one is Anthropic MCP, and the last one is Cursor. You kind of, from each iteration, you see what changed, what new things were enabled.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I
that's awesome.
personally use ChatGPT. I was just sharing that this was like few months ago, maybe 6 months ago, and I'm like, "Hi, we should do something about this." I just sent hi if you remember. I don't know. This was usually would have taken me 3 days because it's been a while since I've become a manager that I coded in Python, like strong coding. I do SQL, I do Python, but very light data manipulation stuff because I have questions at the high level. But this time I wanted like deeper understanding and all of that, and I'm like, okay, instead of spending 2-3 days, let me try doing this via chat. And in 1 hour, I think I kind of did 4-5 days worth of work. Have like entire Databricks notebook that I created a great looking analysis out of it. And it looks so good for me because being a manager and a leader, I still came up with these things. It was really amazing that, wow. I mean, I do understand now that there is some sort of a change in ecosystem of professionals that needs to happen with
Let
this
me
new.
play a quick video for you.
Nice. Audience on Spotify and Apple, go to
I love
YouTube
this
again.
new plug. Come
Oh,
to
and,
YouTube, guys. Come to YouTube.
Yeah, and as Yuzheng's pulling up his video, for those who are not as familiar what AI agents are, check out our other episodes where we talked in depth with our other guests.
So this is a guys. I sponsored Amazon's Chinese New Year Spring Gala. There is a 30 seconds clip
agents 自动化的完
where like we use cursor to automate WBR. The annotation is in Chinese, but so we have a SQLite database with some data, and
Okay.
this is all the. Of course, we kind of change the cursor rules, but this is what we type in cursor agent mode, and just as we have this data, and take a look at the content, analyze data from this period, write a weekly business review, and save it as a markdown. And cursor starts to write Python, first dissecting the task, write the Python,
做了，
and
生
yeah. So after, and this is the business review. But we feel
Wow.
like it's not good enough. So we just said, do deeper analysis. This is not deep enough, and make it more director level. Yeah, more suitable for directors. Because business review are going to directors. And Cursor did it, and it actually found a bug and debugged itself. So the whole thing is totally automatic. And the result is this kind of markdown file with the conclusions first, all the deep analysis and action recommendations.
Nice. That's cool.
The thing is, you don't need to do any Python. I didn't care about what package it used. I just ask for the result and check if the result makes sense and if it's good enough.
I see not many people are doing this, Yuzheng. Like, I personally am using it a ton. Like, for my day-to-day, we have a ChatGPT Enterprise. Almost most of the companies do have it. But I talk to my team, I talk to, my friends who are in this field. They don't use it much. They do not understand the power of how much it reduces your workflows,
Now
work
you
streams.
now you have more understanding of what has said on LinkedIn, right? Like, look,
Yes.
if you never use ChatGPT, of course, like you will feel like, oh, it's a hype or whatever. But if you've seen this result, if you've seen what it can actually do day to day, like it happened. It's not like incoming, it happened.
Yeah. Hey, Yuzheng, just a related question to that. You've worked at, for example, like cutting edge companies, Meta, Amazon, Tencent. Have you seen people using AI enough in their work?
No, not
Data
enough.
scientists.
Not
No.
enough.
So even in the most cutting edge of companies in Silicon Valley and probably equivalent, you still haven't seen it.
No, not
popular.
enough. The reason is they're not, like, people are too busy. People are too busy at their work, and there is just not enough motivation to learn the new thing and test the new thing. If I didn't teach the course, I wouldn't know all the new ways. Like, Cursor is already the kind of the most cutting edge, but we did many things to make it better. If I
Yes.
didn't take the course, we wouldn't have the motivation to do it. Yeah, like, it's not that people are not smart. Like, there are a lot of people smarter than us, or more diligent, or more curious than us, but they are too busy with their daily work, and they don't have the kind of the feedback loop to propel them to try new things.
For me, I was trying LinkedIn content creation back in June, And that's what propelled me to use it every single day for a ton amount of time. And that got me into like using all different types of, I didn't use Cursor though. I should probably start using it. But because I started using these LLM chatbots for majorly for content creation. And then I started using it for technical content creation as well. And then I understood its superpower. And that got me into using it for my daily workflows as well. Because I had like Yuzheng, a trigger to push me into getting to learn this more. But probably to a regular professional who's not affected in their job with probably even a layoff or some job cuts or something, they just continue doing what they're doing, because I actually doubt even leadership talks about start using it as part of your workflows. Probably because it's new, no one knows. They're worried maybe of using it, and they probably could say, I used it, and hence this is the output of not of me, but of that. I'm not sure. But it's probably going to change for sure.
Yeah, that's what I'm talking about. The treasure is in the unknowns. But like today, people are not using the most advanced way of AI. But I think in 10 months, most people will, because, early adopters, and then there is the mass adoption. So it's a matter of time, because, it is definitely better. You talk about linking. Just yesterday, one of our students mentioned that he published this tool to turn your Substack into like a batch chunk posts, and it got viral traction. And he wrote a post about the entire building process. That's kind of unique to this. Like if he didn't do this kind of side task, it wouldn't learn the different ways of using, and what prompts are more effective even. But if he did this, he cared about the outcome, then that kind of push her to learn more.
Your prediction is in 10 months, things will change. People will have more awareness. People are either forced or have peer pressure or management pressure of some sort to deliver more stuff in the age of AI. I think one other takeaway from that, or the kind of like the complementary takeaway, is that from now till then, it's an arbitrage period. Like before everybody gets to mass adoption, you're going to set yourself up for such like great force multiplier if you are actually in it to use it. Would you agree?
Yes, it's a totally arbitrage opportunity from here to, mass adoption.
That's true, right? I think one thing, we are moving so fast in this AI world that it's become so hard for people to show the incrementality of using AI in their lives, personal lives, for people who use it themselves, and for businesses on the incrementality of using AI. Currently, because of how expensive all these things are, the incrementality or the improvement in metrics might not be as big. But unless you start it now, you're not going to. I mean, I personally think in personal lives, there's a huge incrementality. Like my content creation journey, when I did it, every single day, I used to spend 2 hours on a very thorough, like detailed post about some technical details or even my own stories. And by the way, English is not my primary language. I'm okay with speaking English, but I'm really bad in constructing English language, because I think passively, because my own language is a very passive language. I speak Telugu, which is like a South Indian language at home. And English is an active language where you talk, entirely opposite to how I'm used to talking.
Oh, yeah.
And without ChatGPT, I don't think I would have delivered stories in English in the way that they resonate today, the way they did. Purely, it reduced my workflow of content creation by, I would say, 80%. And that's like an incrementality for me with using these chatbots. I don't think people are using them enough to understand how much incremental impact they'll have while they start using these things.
Here's a very related question, which is a lot of, for example, like investment decisions, right? Like comes down from management either from the org, so like a data VP or something, or, the CEO, COO, CPO, whoever else, to say, hey, we're going to go into this area. Just like, for example, like data is still not prevalent in a lot of different companies, right? Like retail, like shipping business or whatever. Like, people are still in the, I can run my business without data because I know logistics and stuff. Like AI is yet another leap for them. Now, at what point do you think leaders start gonna recognize that, hey, we now really need to pivot into AI, and then thus kind of either shorten or promote our way to the 10-month gap, or I guess the 10-month destination at the end of the road?
Okay, so first of all, like my prediction was 10 to 18 months. So the 10 months is Silicon Valley. Most companies are going to adopt agentic AI, at least in coding. 18 months, I'm hoping that agentic AI native product is going to be available to most people, which means like you don't do what you want to do, agentic AI coding and result. You just do what you want to do, agentic AI and results. I hope that happens within 18 months. Going back to the adoption, I don't think, like, I think some people, some teams, some company will adopt. Some people are just gonna, we saw this, like all the big companies, they are best positioned. We always know the Kodak and digital camera story, right? Why didn't they invent the digital camera but not adopt? Why did Sun microchip or whatever Oracle,
Blockbuster, Netflix?
Yeah, like all the old companies, they didn't adopt a new way of doing things. I think people are limited. It comes down to people. So someone will adopt, but someone will. And I'm not saying that if you use AI, you are immediately better. No, like the business model, the flywheel, the customer base, distribution, they all matter a lot. So maybe like for the newcomer to replace the old business, it will take decades to do so. Even cars replacing horses, took decades. Which cars clearly the better choice than the horse. Is very physical. But yeah, like I think it's a process, and I'm not hopeful that everyone would want to change. People have different priorities. They want to keep their job. They don't want disruption. The AI is a disruption, and it's not welcomed everywhere.
So I think the takeaway, at least for me, is, and my plea to the audience would be, if you wanna suddenly look like a superpower or a superhuman of some sort, while everyone is still trying to figure out if this is the right thing for me, you're gonna be so much more ahead than the rest of everyone else.
Oh, I thought your recommendation is take my course.
And take Yuzheng's course. We'll link it in the description.
Thanks. Yeah, but only half joking, because many of our students, like the reviews are online, like public in Maven, and you can see like many of them said after the course they became the LLM go-to person in the work, and opportunities just flow to them. Not saying that my course
That's
is the only.
Cool.
Yeah. So I'm saying studying generative AI is important. There are definitely a lot of great free resource online. My course is not the only option, but studying it is important.
Totally, Mick. Like it's the need of the hour almost, right?
It's promising, it's effective, and it kind of brings everyone to the same starting
level.
The starting line. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's what technologies do. That's what empowerment means, right? Which is what I love. Like imagine the whole equality. Men and women are equal. The whole thing around, that it does not matter which area you're from. Like rural parts of India, you get internet, you get access to the most like deep learning courses from, Stanford lecturers, right? That's what empower means. Get everyone to the same ground and give everyone the opportunity to shine. And AI is doing that even more. So probably, again, looking at it from the lens of empowerment and looking at it from the lens of it's going to make your execution capabilities 10x and 100x. That's when you'll probably embrace it more as a person. Yeah.
Let me give the audience some tips on the specifics of how to get this opportunity. Imagine if before GenAI, you want to get a recommendation algorithm, machine learning job. If you don't have 10 years of experience, you can't get that job because it's highly competitive. You have to have the experience. Now, if you want to get, for example, AI something job, probably takes 2 months to prepare. How do you prepare? Like you understand the basics. Like go to Andrew Carpathy's course, recreate GPT-2. I think he walk you through step by step in 2 hours, and read some literature, and then build some projects. If you don't have any, try to solve your own problem or problem around you. But if you cannot find a project, go to Y Combinator and look at their latest batch. I think 90% is about AI, and you probably can replicate a similar project on your own and show that on your GitHub, show a project page, and document your learnings, publish your learnings during the building process. then show that to the interviewer, and you guaranteed you will stand out. You'll be more competitive than 99% of the people.
Nice. Very cool. That's great advice.
Or maybe you got a successful startup. You don't need to apply for a job anymore.
That's even more amazing. Love that. Actually, this got brought up in our previous podcast with Aishwarya, who is like a GenAI AWS tech lead from Amazon. And she brings up the same point. Like she brought in like 3-month roadmap of getting into, which is close to like whatever you're talking about, it's just 2 months. Identify a problem around you, learn through, like multiple things that you find online. Deep learning.ai is what she's given as like a free courses that you could go and take online. And from then, go build something, and in that process you're going to get to a place where you could actually be like an AI engineer. And she also talked about like within the 9 months or a year from then is when you'll probably be at a place where you take a research paper. If you get into the habit of reading research papers, you'll be like an expert in it. If you get into the habit of reading research papers and understanding the more cutting edge and the whys and what's behind the current state of the art in the world of LLMs.
Yeah, and we'll link it here for our audience. Hey, Yuzheng, I think we're coming up on time. Maybe final question for you. There's a lot of noise in the whole AI world. So repeat, today's is January 31st when we're recording this. 2 days ago or 3 days ago, DeepSeek came out and stock market crashed, and everyone's LinkedIn feed is DeepSeek. Yep. How should people kind of separate the signal from the noise when the world of AI is so noisy?
Let me give you a free sneak peek into my course because it talks directly into this. So this is the kind of the last live session of my course. I begin by saying the danger in learning, and I present a fake paper. The fake paper, of course, when I play it, is line by line. So up to here, it is very credible, like with all the, arguments and all the formula. Most of my students would find this to be credible. But then it's a fake paper I generated with ChatGPT under 5 minutes. So that's the noise in the market. Then how do you distill the noise, or how do you get the signals? You build, you learn the whys, you build a world model. But I think I talk about making predictions possible. But yes, this is kind of advice. The advice I give, you use the scientific method and iterate this process of hypothesize, predict, and falsify. That's kind of the way to learn. And
can you briefly talk through that process for our audience?
Sure. This is from the Zen and the Art of Motorcycle Maintenance, which I think is a great scientific and philosophical book. So, I actually use this to talk about what is scientific about data science. Data science is not about models. It's about building the world model, the world model or the mental model of a business that is kind of quantifiable. If that's the data part. But the quantifiable, I think, is an unnecessary constraint. You just understand our business, but how do you understand the business in a scientific way? So in the book, he talked about the scientific method. You can do trial and error, or you can use the scientific method. He talks about how to fix your motorcycle with the scientific method. In your mind, you have a mental model of your motorcycle. You're no longer looking at the motorcycle in front of you. You are looking at the motorcycle in your mind. And then you try to figure out from in your mind how the motorcycle works, like the engine, the brake, how does each part works with the other part. That mental model is going to be wrong. But if you are good enough, the mental model is good enough. And something is broken, right? You cannot figure out why. That's why your mental model is wrong. But you try to state the problem. For example, the oil is leaking, and in your mental model, you identify what is the cause of the problem. Like oil is leaking probably because the oil pipe is broken. Then you do experiments designed to test the hypothesis. And then you predict, if I fix A, B will be fixed. And then you observe what happened to your actual motorcycle. That's when you actually interact with your actual motorcycle and you have conclusion. So that is the scientific method. From this, if you are good at this process, you can actually solve other problem there is to solve, or at least have an accurate conjecture of what the problem is. So that is the method. And with that method, think about you are looking for signals, and among signals, you are looking for things that are important, and among things important, you are looking for things that are actually likely. And with these three traits combined, you get things that are valuable. So that's kind of what I teach.
Got it. So it's a very mindset heavy sort of like, hey, discern out there. Like if once you have enough of an understanding in the beginning, and also to your point about crafts, like if you've done enough practice, keep practicing until you've got it, then you're going to be able to discern what is signal from noise. Cool. I think that's a good way to wrap the episode. Thank you so much, Yuzheng, for taking the time this morning.
Yeah, thank you for inviting me.
Thank you, Yuzheng. It was amazing.
Thank
Yeah,
you.
I think this is a very valuable skill set for people to take advantage in the next 10 to 18 months, for them to become a super self effectively. And so this is super cool. And for our audience, if you like this episode and find value, please like and subscribe and put comments, and we'll address all of them and get back to you with more content like this. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you.
Bye.